They said her DNA was broken. The scanners of the Alien Council glowed red when they tested her. Strange lines and symbols appeared on the screens, showing errors, defects, something they called flawed. The aliens looked at one another, with their cold, shining eyes, and then back at the young human girl standing alone in the center of the great chamber. Her name was Alara. She was only 20 years old. Born on Earth, raised under skies of blue and storms of fire. Now, she was far away from home. Brought before the Alien Council because she had been chosen for something she did not understand. A voice echoed in the chamber, deep and sharp. Human specimen, your genetic code is incomplete. You are unstable. You are unfit. The council whispered among themselves. They were tall, silver-skinned beings with faces smooth like stone, their mouths thin and cold. Their empire stretched across hundreds of stars, and they had judged countless species before. Most failed. Only a few were allowed to live under their rule, and now they judged her. Ilara's hands trembled, but her eyes did not lower. She looked at the council with quiet defiance. "I am human," she said softly, "and I am enough." The aliens laughed. The sound was not human laughter. It was like metal grinding against metal. "Enough. Your DNA is chaos. Your blood is weakness. Your body breaks under pressure. You are fragile. You should not exist." They called her flawed. They did not know her story. They did not know Earth. In the shadows above the chamber, hidden watchers observed. Not all aliens agreed with the council. Some wondered why humanity survived wars, plagues, and disasters on their homeworld when other species would have perished. Some whispered that humans carried something powerful inside them, something that did not show on scanners. The council leader raised a long hand. "You will not join the Star Legions. You will not be allowed into our empire. Return her to her planet. Let her species die with time." But before the guards could take her away, alarms roared across the chamber. The ground shook, lights flickered. A red warning symbol flashed on the walls. Incoming attack. The council froze. Enemy ships had entered the system. A hostile empire, sworn rivals of the council, had launched a sudden strike. Explosions echoed through the halls. Guards shouted orders. The chamber doors slammed shut, locking everyone inside. Ilara's heart pounded. She could hear the thunder of weapons outside. Alien soldiers rushed past, but many stumbled, unprepared for a direct attack. The council panicked, their silver faces twisted with fear. And then something strange happened. Ilara felt her body grow calm. Her breath slowed. Her eyes sharpened. Where the aliens froze in confusion, her mind cleared with instinct. She was human, born of survival, made of war. Even if she had never fought. The council leader barked orders, but his voice shook. "Hold the chamber. Hold the chamber." Lara stepped forward. "Let me help." The aliens glared. You are weak, you are flawed." But before they could refuse, the doors cracked open with a blinding flash. Enemy soldiers poured in, creatures armored in black steel with burning red eyes. Blasters fired, energy crackled through the air. The council's guards hesitated. Fear made their hands slow, but Ilara moved. She picked up a fallen weapon from the ground, something strange and alien, but heavy and solid in her grip. Without thinking, she aimed and fired. The shot burned through the first attacker, dropping him to the floor. The chamber filled with screams, smoke, chaos. The aliens turned in shock. This human, this flawed human, had killed the enemy faster than any of their own soldiers. Ilara's eyes blazed. She ducked behind a pillar, fired again, and then again. Each shot was precise, each move fast. She had never trained for this, yet her instincts guided her. Her body moved with a rhythm older than memory, humanity's rhythm. The enemy roared in anger, but Ilara kept fighting. Cut opened on her arm, blood dripping red onto the floor. Yet she did not stop. Pain only sharpened her focus. The aliens stared in silence. The girl they had called defective stood between them and death, protecting them with fire in her hands. When the last enemy soldier fell, the chamber was filled with smoke and silence. Ilara stood at the center, chest heaving, weapon shaking. In her hand, her blood stained the floor, but her eyes were steady. The council did not speak. They could not. They had seen what their machines could not measure. They had seen the truth hidden in human DNA. Ilara dropped the weapon and turned to them. Her voice was low, but unshaken. You judged me flawed, but humans are built for this. The silence stretched. The aliens looked at her differently. Now not as weak, not as broken, but as something terrifying, something powerful. The council leader's hand trembled as he whispered, "What are you?" Ilara only stared back, her face pale, her blood bright against the silver floor. "I am human." And for the first time in centuries, the council felt fear. The smoke still lingered in the chamber. The dead enemy soldiers lay across the floor, their armor cracked and burning. Ilara stood among them, breathing hard, her hands still trembling from the fight. The council of silver-skinned aliens sat frozen in silence. They had watched her kill with precision, fight with fury, and survive. Wounds that would have dropped one of their own soldiers. Their scanners had said she was weak. Their judgment had called her broken, but their eyes told a different story now. The leader of the council, High Seer Valen, leaned forward. His voice was low, almost fearful. "This is impossible." "What have you done?" Ilara's gaze swept across the chamber. "I fought. I survived. That is what humans do." Some council members whispered in panic. "It is not her strength," one said. "It is something deeper. Something in her blood," another alien hissed. "No, she is dangerous. She must be destroyed before her kind spreads beyond their world." Lara heard every word, and her fists tightened. They were still calling her a threat. Even after she had saved them, they only saw fear. Before the council could decide her fate, the alarm screamed again. The attack was not over. Outside the chamber, more enemy soldiers were breaching the walls. Explosions rocked the ground. The vast halls of the alien capital trembled as battle raged closer. The guards looked to the council for orders, but the council looked helpless. These rulers, who commanded fleets across hundreds of stars, sat frozen in their seats. Eyes narrowed. You are afraid. You command worlds, yet you are afraid to fight. The leader's face darkened. You do not understand, human. We rule with mind, not with blood. We do not waste our lives in battles. That is what our armies are for. Lara stepped forward, her voice sharp. And when your armies fall? When the enemy comes for your throne? Who will stand then? Your machines cannot fight for you. Your fear cannot protect you. The aliens had no answer. The chamber doors groaned under the weight of heavy weapons. Cracks of light split across the metal as enemy forces forced their way in. Ilara did not wait. She seized another fallen weapon and took position near the door. She could feel her heartbeat steady, the strange calm of battle settling inside her. Again, one of the younger council members whispered, "Look at her. She does not hesitate." The doors burst open. Fire and smoke filled the room. Enemy soldiers stormed inside, roaring with rage. Their armor glowed with crimson heat, their weapons raised high. Ilara moved like lightning. She rolled behind cover, fired blasts into their ranks, and knocked one soldier down with a brutal strike of her weapon stock. Another rushed at her with a blade, but she twisted aside and drove her elbow into his throat. He fell, choking. The aliens watched in disbelief. She was not trained. She was not engineered. Yet she fought with an instinct that none of their warriors had shown. A guard shouted, "She cannot hold them alone." But even as he spoke, the enemy was already falling. One by one, they dropped under Ilaros' strikes until the chamber was once again filled with silence and smoke. Her chest heaved, her arm bled, her face was pale. She was still standing. The aliens stared at her as if seeing a creature from legend. The High Seer rose slowly, his eyes wide. "Human. Your DNA is chaos, yet your body survives. You bleed, yet you fight harder. You are unstable, but unstoppable." Ilara turned to him, her eyes burning. "You judged me flawed. You judged all humans flawed. But what you call chaos is our strength. We adapt. We endure. Fight until nothing is left." The younger council member whispered, almost trembling, If one human can do this, what would happen if all of them rose together? The chamber fell silent. That thought lingered in every alien mind. Humanity, united, would not just survive. They would dominate. But another council member hissed in fear, and they must never rise. If this is what they are too dangerous. They must remain locked on their planet. Elara heard. Her jaw tightened. You fear us. That is why you keep us trapped on Earth. Not because we are weak, but because you know what will happen if we are free. The aliens looked at her, their fear now plain. She had torn open their secret. They had called humanity fragile, but the truth was different. They feared the day humans would step into the stars. Outside the chamber, the war still raged. More explosions thundered in the distance. The enemy's fleet was powerful, and the council's soldiers were falling back. The aliens knew they could not win this battle alone. The High Seer looked at Elara again, his cold face shadowed with doubt. Perhaps humanity was never meant to be judged. Perhaps humanity was meant to be unleashed. Elara stood tall, blood on her arm, fire in her eyes. Then unleash us, or watch your empire burn. For the first time in countless years, the council realized they were not the masters in the room. They were the ones begging for survival. And the only one who could save them was human. The alien capital burned. Outside the chamber, the war raged like a storm. Enemy fleets filled the skies, their weapons tearing through towers of silver and glass. The ground quaked as ships crashed, and the air was filled with screams of soldiers and civilians alike. Inside the chamber, silence pressed heavy on the council. The silver-skinned rulers sat pale and shaken, their calm masks shattered. They had just watched a single human one they called broken fight, like an army. Elara stood before them, her body wounded but her spirit unbroken. Blood stained her arm, her face was smeared with smoke, and her eyes burned with fire. The High Seer finally spoke, his voice low. Human Elara, you saved us when our own soldiers failed. Us, what should we do? The question stunned the chamber. Never before had the council asked an outsider for guidance. Elara's lips pressed into a hard line. She looked at them, at their fear, their trembling hands, their desperate eyes. You have fleets, she said. You have weapons, yet you are losing. Do you know why? The council was silent. Because you depend on fear to rule, she continued. But fear does not win wars. Fear breaks when the first shot is fired. Only willpower wins. Only those who stand and fight, even when death is certain. A younger council member whispered, almost to himself, that is what humans are. Elara turned her gaze on him. Yes, that is what we are. You call us unstable, but in truth, we adapt. You call us chaotic, but chaos is our weapon. Fear. Our blood, but that fear exists for a reason. Another counselor shook his head violently. No, this is madness. If we unleash humans, the galaxy itself will drown in fire. We're too dangerous. Lara stepped closer, her shadow falling over them. Her voice was quiet, but every word was sharp as a blade. The galaxy is already drowning in fire. You sit on your thrones while empires rise and fall. You call yourselves rulers, but you are only survivors hiding behind walls. If you unleash humanity, yes, the stars will tremble, but maybe trembling is what the galaxy needs. The chamber filled with uneasy whispers. Suddenly a blast rocked the building. The walls cracked, and part of the ceiling fell in a shower of sparks. Guards rushed to hold the structure, their voices panicked. The High Seer rose, his silver robe torn. He looked at Elara with narrowed eyes, as if weighing the fate of the galaxy in a single thought. If we allow humanity to rise, you will not be servants. You will not bow to us. You will fight alongside Asor against us. Tell me, Elara, if we open the stars to your people, will you protect this galaxy, or will you claim it? The question hung heavy in the smoke-filled chamber. Elara did not answer at once. Her mind raced back to Earth, the blue skies, the storms, the endless struggles of her people. She thought of hunger, of wars, of survival. She thought of how humanity had always stood on the edge of destruction, yet never fell. Her eyes hardened. Humans do not kneel. It's not to empires, not to kings, not to gods. If you unleash us, we will fight. We will protect ourselves. And yes, we will claim what we must, because that is who we are." The council recoiled. Her words were not a promise of obedience. They were a warning. The younger counselor spoke again, his voice trembling but filled with awe. "Do you not see? This is why humanity cannot be ignored. They are not weak, they are not broken, they are the storm itself." The enemy attack grew louder. The chamber shook again, dust falling from above. Time was running out. The High Seer's gaze stayed locked on Alara. For the first time in centuries, his decision was not about politics, or power, or control. It was about survival. He turned to the guards. "Send word to the fleet. Call for the human armies. We will arm them. We'll unleash them." The council erupted in outrage. "No, they will destroy us all." But the High Seer raised his hand for silence. His eyes never left Alara. "They will destroy our enemies first, and if we cannot control them, then perhaps the stars themselves must bow to humanity." Alara stood still, her chest rising and falling. She had not begged for this. She had not asked for this. But now, the fate of her entire species had shifted. The galaxy would no longer see humans as fragile. They would see them as the fire that could not be extinguished. As another explosion thundered outside, Lara picked up her weapon again. Her voice was steady. "Then it begins. Not just a war for your empire. Not just a war for survival. Will be the first war where humanity fights under the stars." The council fell silent. They knew what she said was true. The galaxy had judged humanity flawed. But now they would witness perfection in war. The decision spread like fire. Across the alien empire, the order went out. Humanity would no longer be locked to their world. Earth was no longer a prison planet. It was a call to war. Ships descended through the skies of Earth, their silver hulls glowing with strange light. People looked up in fear and wonder as alien craft landed on plains, in cities, in oceans. Soldiers stepped out tall, silver-skinned, their faces cold. But this time, they did not come to judge. They came to recruit. Alara stood among them, her arm wrapped in bandages, her eyes sharp. She watched as thousands of humans were gathered, chosen from every nation, every background, farmers, workers, soldiers, mothers, sons. All of them were pulled from their lives and brought aboard. Ships that would carry them into the black ocean of the stars. For many, fear filled their hearts. But for others, there was excitement. Humanity had always looked at the night sky with longing. Now, the stars were opening. Not for peace, not for exploration, but for war. The council had thought humanity would hesitate. They were wrong. In the training halls of the alien capital, humans learned to use weapons not built for their hands, to fight in armor that bent against their movements, to march under banners not their own. The aliens expected them to stumble. They expected them to fail, but the humans adapted. A farmer from Earth fired a blaster for the first time and struck his target dead center. A soldier from the deserts of Earth sparred with alien warriors and disarmed them with speed they had never seen. Even those who had never touched a weapon learned quickly, their bodies adjusting, their instincts sharpening. Alara watched them, pride burning inside her. These were her people. This was humanity unleashed. The alien instructors were unsettled. One whispered, "They learn too fast." Another replied, "They fight like they were born for this." The High Seer himself came to watch. He stood with his council as humans drilled, fought, and pushed themselves to the edge. "Do you see?" he said quietly. "This is why we kept them chained to their world. It's not because they were weak, but because they are too strong." But the galaxy did not wait. The enemy empire pushed harder. Their fleets darkened skies. Their soldiers burned cities. Worlds fell, one by one. The alien council could not stop them, so they sent the humans. The first human soldiers were loaded onto warships, their hearts pounding as the engines roared. Many had never left their planet before. Now they soared into the endless dark, heading toward a war that spanned across stars. When the ships arrived at the front, the aliens still doubted. They placed the humans in the worst positions at the front lines, in broken ships, in battles no one expected to survive. The enemy descended in fire and thunder. Blasters lit the void. War machines clashed in orbit above a burning world, and the humans did not break. They fought with fury the galaxy had never seen. Where alien soldiers hesitated, humans pressed forward. Where others retreated, humans charged. They bled, but they did not stop. Their screams became war cries. Their pain became fuel. An alien commander whispered, watching them from the bridge of his ship, "They are not soldiers. They are storms." On the ground, Ilara led her unit through burning streets. Enemy fire rained down, but the humans moved with instinct, covering one another, pushing forward. They did not fight for the Council's empire. They fought for survival, for each other, for the raw burning fire in their blood. One by one, enemy machines fell. Streets once lost were reclaimed. Humans held when everyone else failed. News spread across the galaxy. On distant worlds, whispers began. The humans are fighting. The humans are winning. Some feared, some hoped, but all watched. In the council chamber, voices rose in panic. They are too dangerous. If they can defeat our enemies, they can also defeat us. But the High Seer silenced them. Look around you. Without them, we are already lost. We unleashed them because we had no choice. Now the galaxy will witness the truth. Humanity is not flawed. Humanity is the weapon. Ilara stood on the battlefield, her armor scorched, her hands blistered, her body trembling from exhaustion, yet her eyes still burned around her humans. Raised their weapons in victory. They had survived their first war among the stars. She looked up at the dark sky, where fleets clashed in fire. Her voice was quiet, but steady. They thought our DNA was broken. They thought we were weak. But now they will see. Humanity is not just surviving. Humanity is coming. And in the silence after battle, every alien watching knew the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy whispered. Everywhere the stories spread of humans who did not fall. Of humans who fought until the ground was red with their blood. Of humans who laughed in the face of death and then rose again to strike harder. World after world repeated the same words. The humans are here. At first, the whispers carried hope. Worlds under siege prayed for the human armies to arrive. Their arrival meant survival. Their charge meant victory. But soon, the whispers turned colder. Because the humans did not only defeat the enemy, they crushed them. They broke them. And they did not stop, on battlefields where other soldiers would. Retreat, the humans pushed forward. On burning worlds where civilians begged for help, the humans protected them with a fury that shocked even the Council. But after the battles, when the smoke cleared, alien soldiers whispered in fear. They enjoy it. The alien capital, the Council argued louder than ever. They are not like us, one counselor hissed. They are not soldiers. They are predators. Every fight makes them stronger. Every death sharpens them. If we keep using them, soon they will not only defeat our enemies, they will defeat us. Another slammed his fist. Without them, we would already be ashes. Do you think our fleets could have held the line? The humans have turned battles we thought lost into victories. But at what cost? The first demanded, do you not see? The more they fight, the more they hunger for it. They are not a weapon. They are wildfire. And wildfire cannot be controlled. High Seer Valen sat in silence, his silver eyes fixed on the stars outside the chamber window. He knew both sides were right. Humanity had saved them, but humanity was also changing. Before their eyes, Ilara was proof of that. She stood at the center of it all. Soldiers looked to her, humans followed her, even alien commanders began to fear her presence. She fought with unshakable will, but her face carried something colder now. The battles were leaving their mark. One night, after a brutal victory on a shattered moon, an alien commander approached her. His voice was careful. Human, tell me honestly, do you fight because you must, or because you wish to? Ilara's eyes were tired, but steady. "Both," she answered. The commander shivered. He had hoped for another answer. Across the front lines, humans began to build a reputation. They fought side by side, but they did not follow orders like the council expected. They made their own choices. They took risks no alien would dare. And most of the time, they won. But when they lost, the enemy paid a price so high it felt like defeat anyway. Enemy commanders began to fear humans more than fleets. They started avoiding battles where humans were deployed. Entire armies retreated rather than face them. The galaxy watched in awe and terror. In the shadows, even allies whispered, "What happens when the war is over? What will the humans do?" Then they cannot return to chains. They cannot be contained. They have tasted the stars. On Earth, the families of those who had gone to war began to change too. Messages flowed back, stories of victories, stories of losses. Humanity began to awaken. They realized the truth. The galaxy was not beyond them. It was theirs to take. The council could feel it slipping. Control, balance. The old order. One counselor leaned close to Valen. "We were fools. We opened the cage. We thought we had unleashed a dog to fight for us, but we unleashed a wolf." Valen did not answer. His gaze turned to Ilara, who stood on the balcony, watching the alien skies with quiet intensity. Her bandages were fresh, her armor was scarred, but her spirit was stronger than ever. He finally spoke, his voice heavy. "No, not a wolf. Something greater, something even I do not yet understand." Down on the battlefield, another war began. Humans were sent again to the front lines. Their enemies trembled, their allies hesitated, and the stars shook as humanity's roar grew louder with every victory. But in the silence between battles, one question echoed across the galaxy, whispered by rulers and soldiers alike. When the war ends, who will stop the humans? One had an answer. The war dragged on, but something new was happening. Humanity was no longer just surviving battles, they were shaping them. Wherever humans fought, victories came faster. Enemy commanders avoided them. Entire fleets rerouted to escape them. In the beginning, humans were placed at the front lines as tools. But now, other soldiers refused to fight unless humans led the charge, and slowly, the humans began to notice. They were not just another army. They were becoming the center of the war. Ilara felt it most of all. She could see it in the eyes of her people, the way they stood taller now, the way they moved with confidence. At first they fought for survival. Now they fought with purpose. Not for the council, not for the empire, but for themselves. One night, as flames still smoldered from a recent battle, a human soldier named Darius spoke openly. He sat beside Ilara, his armor blackened with soot, his face hardened by war. "Why do we fight for them?" He asked. Ilara looked at him. "Because without us, the enemy will burn every world." Darius shook his head. "No, think deeper. Fight, we bleed, we die. And what do? They sit in their chambers. They hide in their towers. When this war ends, do you really think they will thank us? Do you think they will give us freedom?" His words cut like a blade. Other humans listened. Some nodded slowly. The thought had been growing, unspoken. Ilara's jaw tightened. Then, why fight at all? Darius's voice was steady. "We should fight, yes, but not for them. It's for us, for Earth, for our place among the stars. This is our war now." The idea spread like wildfire among the humans. They had been unleashed by the council, but now they began to wonder if they needed the council at all. The aliens noticed the change. Reports reached the High Seer. Humans refusing certain orders, humans saving their own first before obeying commands, humans carving their own paths through battle. The council grew restless. "They are slipping from our control," one warned. "They were never in our control," another answered. Valen remained silent, though his face grew darker. He knew the truth. The moment the humans realized their strength, the balance of power in the galaxy would change forever. On the front lines. That moment was already arriving. In one battle above a dying world, Human soldiers were abandoned. Commanders ordered a retreat, leaving the humans surrounded. By all reason, they should have been wiped out. But the humans refused to die. They fought back with a rage that shook the skies. Ships burned. Enemy commanders fell. And when the smoke cleared, the humans still stood, bloodied, broken, but alive. The abandoned army had not only survived, they had won. The council called it a miracle. But the humans called it something else. Proof. Proof they did not need the Empire to survive. Proof they could fight on their own. Alara stood before her. Soldiers after the battle, her voice carrying over the ruins. Look at what we did. Look at what we are. They left us to die, but we did not die. We never die. We are human. And nothing in this galaxy can take that from us. Soldiers roared in reply, their voices echoing like thunder. It was no longer the cheer of an army fighting for an empire. It was the cry of a people rising for themselves. The galaxy began to notice. Allies who once begged for human help now watched them with unease. Enemies feared them, but allies feared them too, in hidden corners. Rulers whispered, "We wanted their strength, but now they want more. They want freedom. They want the stars." Lar herself felt the weight of it. She had become the face of humanity in this war, but she knew the choice was coming. When the war ended, humans would not return to chains. They would not go quietly back to Earth. And if the Council tried to force them, then the next war would not be against humanity's enemies. It would be against their so-called allies. The stars trembled with the thought, and Alara, standing in the ruins of yet another victory, whispered to herself, "We were judged flawed. But the truth is different. The truth is, we are unstoppable." Galaxy had unleashed humanity. Now it would pay the price. The galaxy was changing. Humans were no longer seen as broken creatures from a forgotten world. They were seen as storms, unpredictable, unstoppable, and dangerous. Every battle they fought proved the same truth. The Council had unleashed something it could no longer control. On Earth, people spoke with pride. They sent messages to their sons and daughters among the stars. Do not bow, do not bend. Remember who you are. And the soldiers carried those words like fire in their hearts. But the Council grew uneasy. In their shining halls, arguments filled the chamber. They no longer listen, one counselor warned. They take orders when it suits them, so they win battles, but they choose their own path. Another slammed his fist on the table, and yet we need them. Without them, our empire would already be dust. Then we have no empire, the first snapped back. We have only humans. Do not fight for us. They fight for themselves. High Seer Valen sat in silence, his cold silver eyes fixed on the stars beyond the window. He had feared this day. Now it had come. On the battlefield, the truth was even clearer. Ilara led her soldiers through fire and chaos once again. The enemy came in waves, but the humans never faltered. They bled, but they rose. They fell, but they pulled each other up. And when the smoke cleared, it was not the banners of the Empire that were raised. It was the human cry of victory. Humanity survives. They shouted. Alien soldiers began to whisper that they trusted humans more than their own commanders. Some even deserted their posts to fight alongside them. The tide of loyalty was shifting. After one brutal victory, Alara stood on the ruins of a broken city. Around her, both humans and aliens watched, waiting for her words. She lifted her weapon high. We fight, we bleed, but we do not break. We are not fighting for the Council. We're not fighting for their empire. We are fighting for us, for humanity, for every world that still dreams of freedom. The soldiers roared in reply.
Oh.
Even alien voices joined the cry. Word spread like wildfire. Ilara was not just a warrior. She was becoming a leader. The Council panicked. She is dangerous, one counselor spat. She is not only leading humans, she is stealing the loyalty of our own soldiers. If we do not stop her, soon the entire fleet will answer to her, not us, another whispered, trembling. It may already be too late. Valen's voice was heavy. If we strike her down, humanity will rise against us. If we let her live, humanity will rise anyway. The choice before us is not whether they will rise, but how. For the first time in ages, the Council felt powerless. Meanwhile, the enemy empire, the true foe of the Council, watched the humans with fear. Their commanders met in shadowed halls, their voices hushed but urgent. "They fight like beasts," one said. "They do not retreat. They do not surrender." "What kind of species throws itself into death and comes back stronger?" Another replied. "Not a species, a weapon." And now the Council is losing hold of it. Even the enemies saw the truth. Ilara herself began to feel the weight of destiny. She had never asked for it, never wanted it, but it clung to her now. Every soldier's eyes looked to her. Every whisper in the galaxy carried her name. One night, as she stood staring at the stars, Darius came to her side. His voice was low. "It's time, Ilara." She turned to him. "Time for what?" He held her gaze. "Time to stop pretending we fight for them. Time to fight for ourselves. The Council chained us once. If we let them win this war, they will chain us again. You know it. I know it. All of us know it. The next battle must not only be against our enemy, it must be against the Council itself." Ilara's heart pounded. The thought had haunted her, but now it was spoken aloud. She whispered almost to herself, "If we rise against them, the galaxy will burn." Darius's eyes hardened. The galaxy is already burning. Better it burns with us free than with us in chains. Her silence was the only answer he needed. In the distance, thunder rolled across the skies as another battle began. But this one would be different. Because now humanity's war was no longer just survival. It was rebellion, and across the stars. Rulers and soldiers alike began to ask the same question. Will the humans save us, or will they rule us? The answer was coming. The galaxy held its breath. The war with the enemy empire still raged. But another war was about to begin, one far greater, one that would decide the future of every world. The humans had grown too strong, too fierce, too free. The Council had unleashed them, and now it could not cage them again. In the capital chamber, the Council met in secret. Fear twisted their silver faces. "We must strike first," one counselor hissed. "If Ilara is allowed to rise, if humanity continues to grow, they will rule this galaxy, not us." "They already rule the battlefield," another said bitterly. "Even our soldiers listen to her voice before ours." "High Seer," Valen's voice was heavy, filled with shadows, "and we have only one choice. We must end her, or kill their leader, and perhaps humanity will fracture." Knew it would not be so simple. On the front lines, Ilara stood among her people. Their armor was scarred, their bodies bruised, but their spirits burned brighter than ever. Around her, even alien soldiers stood waiting not for the Council's command, but for hers. Darius came to her side. "It's time. They fear you now more than they fear the enemy. They will strike soon." Ilara nodded. Her voice was calm, though her heart pounded. "Then let them come. We did not come to the stars to bow. We came to rise." The strike came swiftly. The Council sent assassins, silent, deadly, armed with weapons built to pierce human flesh. They struck at night, slipping into camps where humans rested after battle. But the humans were ready. The assassins never reached Ilara. They were caught, dragged into the open, their mission exposed. The soldiers roared in fury. The truth was clear. The Council had turned against them. In that moment, the bond between humans and the Council was broken forever. Ilara stood before her people, her voice ringing through the night. "They called us flawed. They called us weak. They used us, and now they try to kill us. But hear me now. We are not their tools. We are not their slaves. We are human. And we will never kneel again." The roar that answered shook the skies. From that night on, the humans no longer fought under the Council's banners. They fought under their own. The rebellion had begun. Word spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Some alien soldiers, tired of the Council's fear and weakness, joined the humans. Others stood against them. Civil war erupted, not only between empires, but within them. The enemy empire saw chaos and tried to strike harder, but they too fell under the human storm. Wherever humans fought, the ground turned. Victory followed them like shadow in the council chamber. Panic reigned. They spread too fast. One shouted, "Even our fleets are breaking apart." "They are not just warriors," another whispered. "They are leaders. They inspire loyalty we cannot match." High Sir Velen bowed his head, his voice quiet. "It is already too late. The stars are no longer ours." And in the heart of it all stood Alara. She led not just humans, but a growing army of species who believed in her. They did not fight for empire, or throne, or fear. They fought for freedom. On the final battlefield, where fleets clashed and worlds burned, Alara stood tall on the command deck of a captured ship. Her eyes were steady, her hands strong on the weapon at her side. The enemy was breaking. The council was crumbling. The galaxy was watching. Darius stood beside her, his voice filled with awe. "Look at them, Alara. They follow you. Humans, aliens, even those who once feared us. You have become more than a soldier. You have become the future." Lara's gaze swept the burning stars. "Not me, humanity. We were judged broken. We were called flawed. But now they will remember us as something else." Her voice hardened, carrying like thunder through the command halls. "They will remember us as the fire that shook the stars." And as the last enemy fleet fell, as the council's power shattered, as the galaxy bowed before the storm of humanity, every world understood the same truth. Humanity had arrived, not as servants, not as slaves, not as weak and broken creatures, but as the storm that would never die. The stars themselves trembled. The age of humanity had begun.